Perfect. All right, so this morning we are going to walk through DocuSign. We are going to start in Command and walk through step by step the process to go from Command to DocuSign, creating documents, updating them, sending them for signatures, as well as uploading them back into Command for compliance review. To get started, you'll want to go to your opportunity. I've already created a test opportunity for this morning. So to go to there, I click on the opportunity on the shaking hands on the left-hand side. And then for me personally, I prefer to go to all opportunities, and that's where it lists all the opportunities that you have. So I'll just scroll down here, and then here we have the opportunity I created for this morning, which is 4321 Main Street. I've added my contacts here, my contact of Tony Stark and co-seller of Pepper Potts from Ironman. Put in the list price, commission rate, and then up here, I also added the property information, which happens to be a real address. To go to DocuSign from Command, click on the Documents tab here in Opportunities. And as this loads, you will see, let's give it a second, on the right-hand side, there will be a button that says Start Transaction. It is very, very, very important that you start your transaction within Command. By starting the transaction in Command, you are linking Command and that room in DocuSign together. And that is where you get the benefit of the KW partnership with DocuSign. You, as a member of Keller Williams and you have in your own DocuSign account, you can theoretically go to DocuSign.com and log in on its own. And you can create a room for your transaction. That being said, you will never be able to link a room that you start within DocuSign to an opportunity in Command. So that's why it's very, very, very important to start your transaction from within Command. Another thing that we just learned this week is that in order for you to have access to the KWFA templates, so your seller, your affiliated marketing disclosure, wire fraud prevention, your pay at close documents, and then a couple other documents, you have to originally start a transaction from within Command at least one time, because that is what will ding the DocuSign system to know that you are an agent affiliated with First Atlanta and you need to have access to those forms. If you don't start that transaction within Command, you won't have access to those forms. So here in the Documents tab, I have my big button here. It says Start a Transaction. So I'm going to click on that, and it's going to open up DocuSign in a new room. All right. So now it's giving me a little bit of an error, which is fine. I'm going to click Start a Transaction again. Hopefully it works. It gave me a little bit of trouble last week as well. Okay. Let me try hitting refresh and see if it works. So it looks like it connected, started a transaction. Hopefully, fingers crossed, it linked the two. So once you click on Start a Transaction, it should theoretically take you straight to DocuSign.com to log in. For whatever reason this morning, it's being temperamental. So I'm going to click on Go to Transaction. And that is the button you'll also see after you link your account. And this will take me into the room in DocuSign. So I'm going to click Go to Transaction. And it should open up DocuSign in a new window. You'll have to log in with your credentials for the account that you created. So let's log in here. Perfect. So now you are in your DocuSign room. The first thing I would recommend is when you were in your room is for the first time that you log into DocuSign is to confirm your NRDS number. The easiest way to do that is if you click right here on the Add button and then select DocuSign Forms, a screen will pop up and it'll have a Realtor logo. I've already connected mine, but click on the Realtor logo and then it will ask you to confirm your NRDS number. More than likely, you don't remember your NRDS number. I've only met 2 agents that know it. There's a little link below the text box that says Find Your NRDS ID. You can click on that and it'll open a new web browser. And from there, you can search, you can use your last name, email address, and your license number, and you can find your NRDS ID. Copy that, come back into DocuSign, paste that NRDS ID, And then you need to select Georgia Association of Realtors from a drop-down box of associations. GAR is pretty much at the bottom, so scroll all the way to the bottom, and I think we're 10 or 11 from the bottom. And select Georgia Association of Realtors, click validate, and then another window will pop up that asks you to accept the terms of Georgia Association of Realtors, click accept, and then you are good to go. You have to confirm your NRDS number to have access to the GAR forms. Confirming that number is what lets DocuSign know that you have paid your realtor fees and that you have the right to use a copywritten form. If you don't confirm your NRDS ID, you will not be able to use any of the GAR forms. Perfect. So after you've confirmed your NRDS ID, every time you come into DocuSign from Command, it's going to put you in the Documents tab here. But I want to make your first habit to be going straight to the Details tab. Because when you click on the Details tab, here's where you will input all of the information that will pre-populate your documents, your listing agreements, buyer brokerage agreements, purchase and sale, amendments. All those will be pre-populated from the information you add here. I do want to call out, DocuSign does not automatically pull in the information from FMLS like dotloop did. So you will have to go through and manually type everything, but it's fine. We got a question. Kayla, let's talk about that after, at the end of this, of the training this morning. So you can see here in the Details tab, it pulled in a fair amount of the information from Command. It doesn't pull over everything, and I always recommend that you double check, but you can see up here in the top left-hand corner in the info panel, it pulled over the name of my opportunity, so 4321 Main Street Stark Potts listing. I'm going to use the listing today for the example because I want to show the community association disclosure and the seller's property disclosure. But I will also walk through really quickly writing a purchase and sale agreement. You can see here, it lets me know here's the name of the opportunity, the list side created by the Atlanta Sandy Springs office. Now it didn't pull over the address information over here, and you can see it didn't pull in the seller information on the right-hand side. I would say about 9 times out of 10, DocuSign will pull over the correct information for your clients, but always double check it and edit it. So I want to add in this information, so I'm going to click edit in the top right-hand corner. And then I recommend just kind of start at the top and work your way down. So local currency, we'll select US dollars, lead, it doesn't matter, online, whatever. Address, I'm typing here 4321 Main Street Northeast, Atlanta, Fulton, Georgia. I'm just going to do the office, code, property type, single family detached, year built, 2003, special circumstances, no special circumstances. I always recommend fill in as much of the information that you know as possible. You can always come back in here and add or edit any of the information that changes or that you learn throughout the transaction. So listing date, so we'll select today, the 12th, expiration date, I'll just do July 17th. Listing amount, I think I did 345, 1, 2, 3. Current listing, 345, 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Offer details, we're not under contract yet. No bid, no closing date, additional information. List side concession, 0, buy side commission, 3%, 3%. Property details, I'm not going to fill that in. All right, so I'm going to scroll back up to the top and I'm going to fill in my client's information. And it's really important that you fill in your client's information here in the Details tab because one, that's going to pull in all of their name and email address for the documents. But also when you go to send this document for signature, if you don't have an email address for them in the Details tab, you won't be able to select the pre-tagged roles to get the signature fields assigned correctly and sent out. So I'm going to type in my client's name. So this is Tony Stark. Scroll down. Email address. I'm going to use the email I set up for kwfatech@gmail.com. Fill in. You basically need at least their name and their email address. You can fill in the rest of the information if you like. Seller 2, Pepper Potts. And then I'm going to use my personal email address for Pepper, because I want to show you how the difference between one person signing versus the second and third. And then I'm going to scroll down, and then listing agent, I'm going to fill this information as myself. And I recommend you fill in as much of this information as possible. So email, nicholascore@kw.com. Keller Williams, First Atlanta, 200 Glen Ridge Point Parkway, Suite 100, Atlanta, country, the United States, state, Georgia, 30342. Now, on the right-hand side, if you continue to scroll down, you'll see you'll have listing agent 2. So if you have a co-op agent here, or let's say you're a mentor or a mentee and you want to use your mentor or mentee on a listing, you could add them here as a co-op agent. And if you scroll down, you'll see we have buyer 1. So if you are representing the buyers for this transaction, make sure that you scroll all the way down here to fill in your buyer 1 information, buyer 2 information here, and then keep scrolling and fill in yourself as buyer agent 1. And if you have a co-op agent, buyer agent 2. And then once you filled in all this information, I'll just scroll up really quickly just to double check everything. All right, we have our information. We have Tony, kwfatech@gmail, 4321 Main Street. Let me plug in my computer quickly. All right, email address. Then we have Pepper Potts email address. Then we have myself. Perfect. So I'm going to click Save. So now that all the information has been updated to the Details tab, now it is time that we can start adding documents to our room and getting those filled out. So to do that, click on the Documents tab. So everything in the Documents tab is going to default to the Room Docs folder. So anytime you upload anything, you get a signed document, it's going to default to the Room Docs folder. You may want to organize your Documents tab however you want and create folders. I do want to clarify that in .loop, we had to set up our folders in a specific way for compliance review. Lynn and Alita are never going to look at your DocuSign room, so if you can leave it as messy as you want, but I do want to show you how you can organize it as well before I start adding documents. So this is a listing, so I want to create a listing folder, so I'm going to click on Actions in the top right-hand corner, and I'll select Add Folder and folder name. So I'm just going to name this Listing Agreement and click Create. So now you can see I have my listing agreement and I have my Room Docs folders. So I can just move everything that I need into the listing agreement folder in just a moment. Now we're going to start adding documents. But before we do that, I want to clarify the Documents tab of DocuSign is only to add GAR forms. The wire fraud prevention and affiliated marketing disclosures are added later on in the envelopes. Only GAR forms are added in the Documents tab. So to do that, to add the documents, I'm going to come up here to the top right-hand corner and click Add, and then I'm going to select DocuSign Forms. And this will pull up all the GAR forms available. So sometimes DocuSign takes a minute. Give it a time. Give it a second. If the screen is gray, just let it be. It didn't freeze, I promise. It will load. So you're going to select your DocuSign Forms library here. So just leave it as the library. And then we're going to select library of the Georgia Association of Realtors. I don't know why the Greater Alabama MLS is in here. Just ignore it. You'll never need it. So select GAR. And now it's going to load every single GAR form in the system. And we don't need every single GAR form. So we'll start to search for the forms that we want. I would recommend that after a while, start to learn the form ID number or form ID for the documents you use regularly, because a lot of them have very similar names. So I'm going to type in listing agreement, and you can see here it's commercial, exclusive, commercial, commercial, exclusive leasing, exclusive seller listing agreement. So I'm going to select F101. So if you do a lot of listings, I would just start to type in here. You can just type in F101. Perfect. But I want to add in the seller's oh, I guess
somewhere. Whoops. Hello.
Hi. You can mute yourself.
Sorry. I'm so sorry, Nick.
You're fine. Perfect. So let me just come back to add. I want to add some more documents. Click DocuSign Forms. Sorry, incorrectly hit enter too soon. So I want to add in the seller's property disclosure. All right. And again, so you can see we have the condominium, land lot, and new construction. So we'll select F301. And then I want to add in the community association disclosure, F322. And then I also want to show you the purchase and sale agreement. So F201. Perfect. So I'm going to click add. And as you select the documents, this number in the bottom left-hand corner will update so you can keep track to make sure that you've added the total number of forms that you need. So I'm going to click add. The page will reload and show those documents. Perfect. So I created my listing agreement folder. So I want to move all of my listing documents into this folder. So to do that, just simply click on the document and drag it up to the folder. Perfect. Listing agreement, move it there. And then seller's property disclosure, move it there. Perfect. It's that simple to move your documents. So now I want to start updating the documents and filling in the information. To do that, just click on the document and it will open up, and this is where we can start typing in. Perfect. So you can see here, it loaded in the property address from the details tab. So we'll just go through here and fill in any of the blank information that we need to add. So parcel ID, type in whatever that number is. Let me preface this. This is not a training on how to fill in the correct information for any of these documents. This is a class on how to use DocuSign. So I'm just going to type in a bunch of information, but it's not correct. Please refer to Lynn and Alita on how to correctly fill in any GAR forms. So I like to use deed book and page. So just fill in that information there. Listing period. So we'll do today's the 12th, 2020. And then I think we said 7/17/2020. In DocuSign, you do need to manually type in the dates, or they don't have the calendar functionality that .loop does. But one of the great things about DocuSign that I really like is that you can just tab through each one of the fields, whereas you couldn't do that in .loop. So just click seller does have the right to negotiate, listing, marketing, FMLS, GAMLS, and KWLS. Commission, we'll do 3%. Click here, 3%. Protected period. You can see it's really simple. You just click through, type in, and check the boxes that you need. It's that good to go. One thing I do want to call out is on the bottom of the first page of the GAR form, it has this text. This form is copyrighted and may only be used in real estate transactions in which blank is involved as a real estate licensee. GAR did not map that field to automatically include our names. So I want to point that out, that when we go to the envelopes, I'm going to add a text box there to make sure it has my name. So that way everyone knows that I do have the right to use this form. So I'm going to continue to scroll through here, add in any information that's relevant. Keep scrolling, scrolling, scrolling. All right. So here we have the brochures. So all the brochures are loaded into into DocuSign. So click the brochures you're going to send. You may want to create a folder in your room, in your documents tab of your room for just your brochures. That's fine. Special stipulations. You can type in anything here that you would like to include in your exclusive listing agreement. And if you want to type something else, just hit enter and continue typing. It's that easy. Perfect. So now I have my special stipulations. I'm going to scroll down. Perfect. It has signed. It included Tony and Pepper and their email address here. It's gone through and added the information that I loaded. Now, one thing you'll notice is that it doesn't pre-populate all of the information here. I've talked with Hutch, and we're working with getting DocuSign to map these fields. So that way, every single time you load a document, everything's already in there, because that information will stay the same for every single transaction. But you do want to go through here and fill this in. I recommend you don't leave any information blank. I don't want Lynn and Alita pushing back on anything that doesn't need to be. 379-844. And then another great thing that I really like about DocuSign versus .loop is that you can't delete these text boxes. I can't tell you how many times in .loop that I would try to delete some text that I put in incorrectly or misspelled, and I'd end up deleting the whole text box. And then it becomes a pain in the butt of having to add a text box and reconfigure it to fit. These text fields are not deletable. You can't get rid of them. Perfect. So it looks like I have all that information included here. So once you're done, click Save and Close. All right, perfect. So now I'm going to show you the two disclosures, the community association disclosure and the seller's property disclosure. And the reason I want to show you these, because these forms, as well as the lead-based paint disclosure, are forms that our clients will fill out and not us. So the functionality in DocuSign is a little bit different. So I don't want to catch you off guard. I want you to be prepared, so when you go to send these for your next listing, you know exactly what to do. So I'm going to start with the seller's property disclosure. I'm going to click on it to open it up and make any edits. All right. So you can see here, the only fields that are editable are up here at the top. I've pulled in the property address, but then as I scroll down, you can see there aren't any fields here where you fill in any of the information. And that is because all of these fields for this entire document are mapped to seller one. So when you send this document to your client, everything will be mapped for him or her to fill in. So we don't have access to it. So it's an extra safeguard, because please, I just remember Lynn or Alita always telling us, do not fill in any of the disclosures, because you yourself do not want to be liable for any misinformation that's included. So I'm just going to scroll through here and make sure there aren't any fields that I'm missing that I do need to fill in. It added my client's names here. Other than that, I'm good to go. So I'm going to click Save and Close. And then I'm going to quickly show you the same with the community association disclosure. All right. So you can see again, it filled in the offer, the property address, but I don't have an offer yet or an exhibit number. And again, all this information here is all blank. So I can't update any of it, which is fine. Scroll down. Perfect. Everything's good to go. I don't even have to do anything to this one, even better. So I'm going to click Save and Close. So you can see that updating these documents is very simple. It literally is just going from blank space to blank space, filling in the information that is needed. All the same information that you would have updated in .loop as well. So I also really quickly want to show you the purchase and sale agreement, because this is probably going to be one of the most popularly used documents in your career. So I want to make sure everyone is familiar with it. So just click on it and open it up. Now, I understand that for today's presentation, I'm representing the sellers, but I just want to show you how to use this document. Again, you just kind of come through here and fill in any of the information that's missing. You just kind of tap through here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3. Purchase price, we listed this at $345, 1, 2, 3. Seller's closing costs, we'll do 5,000. Date of possession, we'll do 7/17, 2020. At closing attorney will be Campbell and Brannon. Holder of earnest money, KWFA. Earnest money, 5,000. Within 3 days. Inspection, 10 days. Yeah. So, I mean, you literally just tab through here and fill in all of the information. You can see here, automatically loaded listing agent, Keller Williams First Atlanta, represent as client. And then we'll say the selling broker is Harry Norman, representing as a client, no material. And we'll give this until 5 p.m. on 6/13/2020. So you can see how simple that is. Scroll down, keep scrolling. All right, so we have our community association disclosure. So I'll just make, add this as A. And then the seller's property disclosure as B. And then conventional loan, I'll make C, but I don't actually have conventional loan. So I'm just gonna type in buyer to provide conventional loan exhibit within 24 hours of binding. More steps. All parties promise to make this a smooth closing. No complaining. Whatever steps you want to add in there. And then we'll just continue to scroll down. And since I'm representing the listing side, you can see here that my client's name, Tony Stark, and his email address are both included on the purchase and sale agreement, as well as Pepper Potts. I want to call that out because here is in .loop, I would have immediately deleted my client's contact information. And you're probably going to want to do the same here because you want to protect your client's information. I would want to do the same thing. 9 times out of 10, your co-op agent would never reach out to your client directly, but there's always going to be that possibility that maybe that the co-op agent would do something kind of sneaky, and we want to prevent that. Unfortunately, the way that DocuSign is mapped and works is if you delete any of the information out of a pre-populated field from a document, it automatically deletes that or edits that text in the details tab. So if you delete your email address out of the purchase and sale agreement, it's going to delete the email address out of the details tab. And then when you go to send the document, there isn't going to be an email address associated with your seller or your client. So I will show you when we are creating the envelope to send for signature, how we can block out our clients' email addresses to protect them and protect their privacy. All right. So I'm gonna scroll down, make sure everything's all right. I'm gonna come in here, again, fill in my license number, the fax number, membership, Atlanta, KWFA 01, and then H33313. And if you really wanted to, you could come in here and you could add in all of the co-op agent's information to make it more simple. And then once you're good here, you can click Save and Close. So now everything is saved. And our next step is going to be to send these documents out for signature. And the way that you send documents in DocuSign for signature are through an envelope. And the way Michael New explained it to me, and it really worked well for me, so I like to share it, is think of an envelope in DocuSign like a manila envelope on your desk. that you've put together all the documents for this contract, you organize them, and then you're going to put them in that manila envelope on your desk until you see your client, and then you're going to take that envelope and you're going to hand it to him or her and say, here, please sign these documents. That's what an envelope in DocuSign does. There are two ways that you can create an envelope in DocuSign. I'll show you both. The first is by rolling your mouse over the document icon that you want, and you can see this circle appears in the top left-hand corner. You can check that circle. So you'd want to do that for all the documents that you'd want to send in an envelope. Now, don't worry, you don't have to send every single document every single time or all of them at once. You can send as many envelopes as you want, and you will likely send multiple envelopes throughout a transaction as you negotiate any amendments to address concerns, any additional amendments, extensions, and commission agreements. So don't worry about sending too many envelopes. So once you've selected all the documents you would like to send in an envelope, you can scroll up here to this toolbar that will appear, and you can roll your mouse over, and you can see there's this icon that says DocuSign. If you click on DocuSign, that'll take you directly into an envelope and create that envelope for you. So that's way number one. The other way is if you come up here to envelopes, the envelope tab, click on envelopes, and then over here in the right-hand corner, we'll click on new. So this will create an envelope for us. And this is the same screen you would have seen had you selected DocuSign back in the Documents tab. So we are going to name our envelope. We're just going to start at the top of the page and work our way down. So envelope name, I always recommend that you name the envelope something that you can keep track of and make sense, because you will be sending so many throughout the transaction that you can go back and reference any of the information in that envelope, any of the dates signed, and that. So I'm going to name this listing agreement and purchase and sale. And now we want to add documents to the envelope. So to do that, we'll select the Room Docs tab right here. It's a blue button. And then it's going to show us all of the documents in the room, every single one. So right now it's fine because we only have 4 documents. But as you start to add a lot of documents here, you start to get signed documents, it will include everything. So just be mindful and pay close attention to the documents that you're adding to make sure it's the right one. So I'm going to click Add Selected. All right, and it's loaded all of those documents into my envelope. And then as I mentioned earlier, we'll want to include the wire fraud prevention and the affiliated marketing disclosures. And those are templates. And the reason they are templates is because there isn't actually any information or fields on those documents for you as an agent to fill in. They are only there to get signed. So to add those to your envelope, click on Use a Template right here in the document box. So we'll click Use a Template. And then we'll select Shared with Me. Now, when we first got started, I had mentioned to you the importance of starting your DocuSign room from within command. Another thing we found out is that you need to start your, at least your very first DocuSign room from within command, because that is what will give you access to these shared templates here. So you can scroll through here, the list of items. You can see here, I have an affiliated marketing and wire fraud disclosures, but they are the buyer version. The MCA office created both a buyer version and a seller version of these disclosures because of the way that the signature fields are mapped to our clients. It is very important that you select the correct version based on which side of the transaction you are representing. So I'm working on the listing side, so I'm going to select seller wire fraud and seller affiliated marketing. While we're here, I do just want to point out that your pay at close request is here as well. A wire request, agent W-9, ACH authorization. So there's a couple of documents here outside of the wire fraud and affiliated marketing that you might need. So once I've selected those, I will click on Add Selected, and that's going to add those documents to the room. Sorry, to the envelope. All right, so now that we have our 6 documents all added to our envelope, I want to reorder them in a specific order. So I want to make sure that my buyer or my listing agreement is signed before my purchase and sale agreement. So I'm going to reorder them. So to do that, I am going to roll my mouse over the icon of the document I want, click on it, hold my finger down or hold the mouse down, and then move it into the position that I want. So I want the listing agreement first, and then I want the seller's property disclosure, then the community association disclosure, then the affiliated marketing disclosure, and then I want to move the wire fraud prevention up here. Perfect. So it's now listing agreement, seller's property disclosure, community association, wire fraud, affiliated marketing, and purchase and sale. You have to put the documents in order that you want at this part of the envelope creation. Once you go to the next stage where you start to add signatures and add any missing text, you are unable to reorganize and reorder the documents. So make sure they are all in the right position here. So we're going to scroll down because now we want to add recipients to the envelope. So this is going to be who do we want to send these documents to for review and signature. So to do this, click on Add Recipient from the drop-down menu, and you have 3 options. When you are sending out GAR forms that are templates like we have, always select pre-tagged roles. I'm going to say this again. Always select pre-tagged roles. And the reason is all those fields on these documents are mapped to the roles that we have created for our clients on the Details tab. So all those fields are going to be assigned to Seller 1 and Seller 2. If you select Room Participants, it will not automatically assign the signing rights and the fill-in capabilities to our sellers. So make sure you select pre-tagged roles. And here we'll be able to go through and select our seller. So I'll select Seller 1 from the drop down. This is Tony Stark. And then Seller 2 will be Pepper Potts. And then listing agent will be myself. Now you'll see I'm in here twice, and that's fine. You're going to be in your list twice as well, because DocuSign will always add you as an agent owner to the room for every room that you create. But then I also added myself as the listing agent on the Details tab. So that's why I'm in here twice. You can select either or, it doesn't matter. One thing I want to call out here, you may think, oh, I need to add the listing broker since I'm part of KWFA and we're the listing brokerage. Do not add the broker to the signature fields. There is no place on any of these forms for the broker to review and sign. So similarly in .loop, we would never send something like any of these documents to Lynn and Alita for signature. Please do not add them here because it will mess up the signing rights and getting that form completed. Also, you could add your co-op agent in DocuSign. That is a personal preference on how you want to work in sending documents directly to your co-op agent. I would recommend against it, but it's up to you. So I'm going to click Add Selected. And it's going to load each of the recipients into the envelope. All right. So you can see there's a lot of information here about each one of the recipients. On the left-hand side, we have boxes, and they each are filled with a number. Right now, it says number 1, and that's what the system will default to. And that means that when I send these documents out for signature, it's going to send them to Tony, Pepper, and myself all at the same time. But I actually want these documents to go to Tony first because Tony's going to be responsible for filling in the seller's property disclosure and the community association disclosure. So I want him to fill in that information before it goes to Pepper so she can review it all to make sure it's all correct and she can sign. And then once they've signed, everything's good to go, then I can sign. So to update the signing order, in the box, just highlight the number and then update to the number that you want. And then click Enter. And I'm going to come over here to myself as a listing agent. I'm going to update me to be the 3rd signer and click Enter. And you can see it reorders that. Now, one thing I do want to clarify is that Pepper will not be able to sign this. She won't even get an email from DocuSign until Tony completes this. So if you decide to use a signing order, let your clients know, hey, seller 2, make sure you talk to seller 1 to make sure he or him fill in that form all the way immediately before you can sign it. Because you're probably like, oh, I never got anything. I can't sign it. There's no email. It's because they're still waiting for seller 1 or buyer 1 to sign. The next thing I want to talk about is over here on the right-hand side. It's going to default to needs to sign. There's a drop down here, and you can see there are different permissions that you can assign to each recipient. So needs to sign makes most sense. Needs to view. So this is if you want to send it so they can just look at it, but they don't need to actually do anything to it. The only case I can really think of is if you're working with a buyer or seller whose parents or someone else, a family member or friend is really involved in the transaction and they just want to see the documents. Now that is something you'd want to work out with your client and his or her family, but that is an option there. Receives a copy, so that way once everything is signed, let's say once you get everything signed, you could CC, receives a copy for your closing attorney, and boom, and they can just send everything straight there, so you don't even have to worry about it. And then specify recipient, you don't need to do anything with that. And then on the right here is more, and you can click that, and you can add an access authentication. And this is if your client wants that extra level of security. Maybe he or she is nervous that someone could break into his email and then start signing documents, and now he is on the hook for a $500,000 house that he didn't even know about. You can add an authentication code, so you can just type in a code here, and then give that code to your client. Say, hey, before you have access to sign, you need to type in the code 12345. And once you do that, you'll be able to sign. They also have the option to write a private message. So for seller 1, I want to add a private message that says, please fill in all of the necessary information for the seller's property disclosure and community association disclosure. So those fields are mapped to seller 1. So I just want to make sure to remind Tony, he's the one responsible for those fields. So we got a quick question. So let's, can you create a document in RDocs and then add it to an envelope for signing? And if yes, could we leave the email address off for our client's info? So yes, you can create a document in RDocs and then add it to an envelope. The way that you would do that is up here in this box here where you add documents, you would select more, and then you would click upload. And this would allow you to upload a document directly from your computer. So let's see, do I have a PDF here? Let's see. I don't have a document right here that I could upload. So that's where you'd upload a document from you saved from RDocs. And then you would have to manually add their signatures in the next stage, which I'll show you in just a second. All right, so now we've added our documents, we've added our recipients, we've put them in the right signing order, I've added a quick little private note. Now we'll come down here to our email subject. I recommend you leave the email subject as please DocuSign, and then fill in, property address, Main Street Northeast, listing, agreement, and purchase and sale agreement. Please review and sign. Thank you, Nick. Awesome. So now that we have all that information in there, we can click the next button in the top right-hand corner. And this is going to take us to the place where we start to double check our signatures, add any missing signatures, add any missing text fields. This is going to be where DocuSign looks the most similar to .loop. So we'll just give it a second to load. So a couple things I want to point out before we jump into doing anything. Up here in the top left-hand corner, you can see where it says Tony Stark and it has a yellow circle next to it. If you click on that, there's a drop down and it's going to show each of the recipients for this envelope and have a color associated with them. And if I click on Pepper, you can now see that all these standard fields here on the left-hand side are blue. And that's to let me know But as I'm going through this document, that anything that I see that's blue is associated with Pepper, anything that's purple is associated with me, and anything with Tony is associated, or anything that's yellow is associated with Tony. It's a simple way that you can easily check and make sure that all the signing fields are assigned correctly. All right, and then on the right-hand side here, it has thumbnails of each one of the documents. So it'll maximize just the first document and then minimize the rest of them, especially if you have a lot of documents. So this way you can quickly go through and see, okay, here's page 1, 2, 3, 4. And as you scroll down, you see on page 8 has these nice little tabs here, and that lets you know that there is information, required information on page 8 for someone to sign. And you can see here, I have my signing fields for Tony and Pepper already included. And then here's one for myself. Perfect. Now, one thing I wanted to come back to is on page 1, I told you at the bottom, it's missing our name for the right to use a copywritten field. So the easiest thing to do here is if you come up to the top left-hand corner, select yourself, and then there's this standard field here that says name. Click on name and just pull that over here, and it will add your full name. So this is when you go to sign, it'll automatically load my full name in here. So it says that I have the right to use this document. So everything else looks good to go. I'll just scroll through over here for thumbnails for time's sake. All the signatures look great. Perfect. Now let's do the seller's property disclosure. And you can see here, all of these fields are highlighted yellow. And that lets me know that they are associated with Tony Stark. So if you click on one, you can see it's a recipient is Tony Stark. It's not a required field. And I want to point that out because the way DocuSign works is that it only stops users when they're signing on required fields. So when you send this to your seller 1 to sign, it'll just go from start and then to sign, sign, sign. And it will bypass all of these text fields that he or she needs to fill in. So I just want to point that out. You could go through here and you can make this required. And now it fills in with the yellow text, and that's how you know it's required versus not. The issue is not every bit of information or every text field on this disclosure needs to be filled in. There isn't relevant information. So if you make it required, your seller 1 will have to fill in some form of information in that field in order for him or her to be able to complete the field. All right. So I'm going to uncheck that. But you can see here that all these are yellow, 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 yellow. Again, at the bottom of the first page, I'm going to add my name. So I'm going to select myself, name, and just pull that over here. I always recommend that in DocuSign, align the bottom of the text with the toolbar or the bar, because that's how it loads. All right. So I'm going to continue to scroll down. All this is assigned to seller 1. All right, let's give it a second. We can see here, our seller signatures are all there, good to go, perfect. The next is the community association disclosure. And this is the same bit as seller's property disclosure. It's all assigned to seller 1. And then I'm going to add my name here. Perfect. We keep on scrolling. And then there's the initials are there. Perfect. And now we have our wire fraud document. All right, so here you can see the signature fields are off. So I would just recommend that you move those up so it signs in the right place. And then it's going to add their full name and their date signed here at the bottom of the document. Then we'll scroll through to the affiliated marketing. And the same thing here, the signature fields. Sometimes these are off. I don't know why. That's why I always say double check to make sure everything is good to go. And now we'll move on to the purchase and sale agreement. So we'll just do a quick double check. Now, let's say you went through and you're like, oh crap, I missed a very important piece of information right here. Let's say for closing attorney, I put C and Campbell and Brannon, but I forgot to say which location. So what I can do is I can come over here and click on text, and then I can add a text field. And I can edit it, make it as big as I want, and I can write in Glen Ridge office. Because I want to clarify, because I don't want to close down off of North Avenue because this property is in Sandy Springs. We'll just close right here at the Glen Ridge. Now, as I said earlier, this text field is checked as required. That means that when I go to sign it, it's going to stop. DocuSign is going to stop me here to double check and fill in the information. I just want to fill it in here, so I'm going to uncheck required. But since I know that this information isn't going to change depending on who's signing or to be filled in, I'm going to click on read only. And what read only does is that this will show up as the Glen Ridge office. This text will show up when everyone signs the document, and no one can edit it. So we'll leave it as Glen Ridge office and good to go. Another thing I want to point out about adding text in DocuSign, you can only add text in a blank space because it doesn't white out the background like it did in .loop. So in .loop, you could just add a text box anywhere you wanted, type it in, and it'd be fine. It would cover up the text behind it. DocuSign does not cover up the text behind it. So if you overlay text over it, it will show through. So just be mindful of that. So if you need to put something on the other side of it or make it edit something, you'll have to do it that way and kind of work around that. All right, so scrolling down, making sure everything is good to go. We have our initials here. I'm going to add my name right down here. All right, and we'll continue to scroll down. I'll just come over here, go to thumbnails. Perfect. So we're going to go to the last page of the purchase and sale agreement. You can see it adds signature, date signed, and then here is my client's email address. And I promised I would show you how to block this off. So since we're unable to delete it in the Documents tab, if you come over here to the markup tools icon, it looks like a little pencil or pen, click on that. And then our only option is line, so click on line, and then come over here, and then we just add a line to cover that up. And now we have this toolbar over here that we can start to make some edits. So I want to make this black, and then I want to make it thicker. So if I make it thicker, it can cover up the whole email address, and then I can just move that so it covers the whole email address. And then one thing that's great about DocuSign is that I can just click Control Copy and then Control Paste, and it now created another toolbar or another black bar that I can then just drag down, cover up seller two's information, and just drag that to cover. Perfect. So now my client's information is hidden. The co-op agent won't be able to see it. Yes, it's a black bar. It's not the most beautiful way to cover it up, but it is our workaround at the moment. So please be mindful that if you want to protect your client's privacy and their contact information, please use a black bar. You could also use this over any phone numbers or mailing addresses as well. All right, so now that I've covered up their information, I'm going to scroll down, and you can see that my signature field isn't here, which is why I always recommend double check signature field. So I'm going to add a signature field for myself. So I'll come back over here to standard fields, click on signature. I'll add this right here. I'm going to line up the black line of the sign with the black line on the document. And then I also want to add the date signed field right here. Perfect. So now everything is good to go. And then one quick tip I'd like to show you is, let's say up here on our listing agreement. And I'm going to show you on the listing agreement how you can make this binding without having to go back through and resend it. Because in .loop, there was kind of a process. You had to make the signed document a PDF and then go through, add text, make that a PDF. Well, since only your seller 1, seller 2, and yourself are signing, you can make this binding when you sign it, because I'm going to be the last person to sign it. So what I can do is I can come over here and I can click date signed, and I can add that date signed field right here. So when I go to sign, it's going to automatically populate that date. But then I can add a text box right here. Let's format that to fit. And then I can add another text box right here. Format that to fit. And I'm going to leave those text box blank. Because when I go to sign and it's my turn, I can type in the time that this will go binding. So then when I'm done signing, DocuSign automatically sends all the signed documents out to everybody. And that way my sellers will have received a binded copy of our listing agreement. Now, before we send, let's just double check and make sure everything looks good and that our signing fields and fill-in fields are all marked appropriately. So up here in the top right-hand corner, you can click on Recipient Preview. And this way we can see what the experience will be like for each one of our clients. So I'll go up here to the top left-hand corner and I'm gonna select Tony. So that way I can see what's it gonna be like when Tony goes to sign this. And then also up here in the center, you can see it's going to default to what his signing experience will be like on his computer. You can look to see what it's like on a tablet or on a phone. So you can see it's going to be really hard for him to read it on a phone. So I recommend a computer. So this is going to kind of be a mock signature for us. So I'll click Start. You can see how it jumps to the bottom. And now it just jumped all the way to the bottom of that seller's property disclosure. So that's what I was telling you. You have to remind your client to scroll up to the top of the seller's property disclosure, and then he or she can, start filling in information. Now, I'm just messing around here. This isn't actually going to save anything, so you don't have to worry. This is just a preview. Let's click Next. It's going to do the same thing for the community association disclosure as well. So he'll just have to come through here. Oh, I guess. Okay. Wire fraud, affiliated marketing, sign the purchase and sale. Perfect. Now, here, if it was a real signing, it would let him finish, and then it would be good to go. And then you could do the same thing for Pepper as well, if you just want to see what it's going to be like for her to sign. So it's going to load. All right, so done looking at previews. I am ready to send. So I'm going to click this little X button up here in the top right-hand corner to get out of the preview. And now that we are good to send, I am going to click Send. So now it's preparing that envelope and it is sending out to my clients. Perfect. So it is sent. So it's going to show, it's going to put me back in the envelope. It's saying waiting for others. Now it's going to go to Tony to sign. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch the screens that I'm sharing so that way I can show you what it's like to sign for Tony, then for Pepper, and then myself as the agent. So let me stop sharing just really quickly so I can switch my browser windows. Come over here. Perfect. Okay, let me just bring that over here. Share screen. All right. So you can see here, this is my email for Tony. You can see Nicholas Core from Nicholas Core via DocuSign. Please DocuSign 4321 Main Street, listing agreement and purchase and sale. So I'll click on that, scroll down. Here's a private message. Please fill in all of the necessary information for the SPD and CAD. Please review and sign. Thank you. Now to get started, Seller 1 clicks Review Documents. Let's click Allow, and then they agree to use electronic records and signatures. Click Continue, and then Start. Perfect, and we'll click Sign. Now the first time your clients come in here, it's going to ask them to confirm their signature. Just click Adopt and Sign. And then you see it jumped right past all that information for the seller's property disclosure. So very similar to the recipient preview, I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to just quickly type in some information and click all of this. And you just type in information. And he'll just, you know, your client will go through here. You can see how it loads my name there. So I added that full name field. And then your client will just go through here, select all of the information, and then just type in info, info, info. All right. So you can see how easy this is. You just have to remind your client that, hey, when you're in DocuSign, it's going to jump you from signature field to signature field. Make sure that before you click finish, you scroll back up and fill in all of the information for the seller's property disclosure, community association disclosure, and likely the lead-based paint. So once your client fills in all the information, click next, sign here, come back to scroll up for the community association disclosure, voluntary, let's do 500 in 2 installments, contact information, HOA name, person, HOA company. I'm just, you know, you can just see how easy it is just to type through here. Email address, email@email.com. So here your client can just tab through all these fields. Here it added my name. Just come through here, can select everything. It's that simple. And then you can click on initial and then sign wire fraud, sign affiliated marketing, initial purchase and sale. And you can see here, it's going to have him sign the purchase and sale agreement, and it blocks out his email address right there. So I'll click sign. Once your client has gone through and signed and filled in all the necessary information, they'll have a button here at the top that says finish. It is very important that your client click on the finish button. Even though Tony has gone through here and signed and filled in everything, if Tony doesn't click finish, DocuSign will never send an email to Pepper to start her time signing the documents. So the documents will just get stuck here in purgatory and no one will be able to sign them. So Tony is going to click finish. And it's going to ask Tony to sign up for DocuSign. Just no thanks. I mean, if they want to, they can. Perfect. So Tony is all done. So now I'm going to come over here to this is my personal account that I used for Pepper. And now you can see Pepper just received an email. Please DocuSign. So I'll click on this. Scroll down. You'll see there isn't a private message here like there was for Tony that says, please fill in all the information for the SPD and CAD. It just says, please review and sign. Perfect. So Pepper will click on review documents. And it'll be the same process as Tony. So I'll click allow, agree to use electronic records and signatures, continue, start. Perfect. So it takes me to the bottom of the listing agreement. Now it just jumped past all that information for the seller's property disclosure, but I want to scroll up so I can show you, see all these fields are filled in because Tony went through and filled it in. That's why it's important for a document like the disclosures that need to be completed, that you have a signing order. So now Pepper has the time, she can go through and review this and make sure that all the information is correct. So click next, sign it, sign, purchase and sale, initial, sign, sign. So now Pepper has signed everything. Gonna click finish. And again, it's going to ask her to sign up for account, say no, thank you. Perfect. So now I'm going to stop sharing this screen because now it's my turn to sign as the agent. So they both signed. So I'm going to come back over here. Let me just type that. Let me open up my work email account. And now I can share my screen. Come back to Zoom, share screen. Perfect. All right, so you should now be able to see my email. And you can see the top email I have up here says, please DocuSign. So now it's my turn, so I'm gonna click Review Documents. Very similar, I'm gonna click Start. It's gonna have me sign here, the listing agreement. Now remember I added those fields to make the listing agreement binding. So because that's a required field, it stopped me at that box. So I need to type in, I'll do 12 p.m. So I filled those in, I can click next, have me sign, and then finish. Perfect, so I'm done editing. Or done signing. So it'll take me into DocuSign, but I'm just gonna get out, I don't wanna do that right now. So let's come back over to the DocuSign window I already had open. I'm still in the envelope, so I'm gonna click refresh. And it will show you that all these documents have been signed. You can click on this and it'll show you everyone has signed it. There you go, perfect, click X. And then one thing really quickly I wanna show you is that if I come back to my inbox, you can see DocuSign sent an email, it says completed, please sign. And then it sent me an email as well as Tony and Pepper with all the completed documents. So if your clients wanted to download them, they could just click on the view completed documents and it'll load them. And then they can just click download right there. It's that simple. All right, so now that these have been signed, I'm gonna go back over to my documents tab. And as I mentioned earlier, everything will default to the room docs. So you can see here, we have all of the documents that are signed have a green check mark in the bottom right-hand corner. So we have our affiliated marketing, community association, purchase and sale. So I want to move all these. I'm going to move the affiliated marketing up. I'm going to move community association, the listing agreement. Let's see what else. Seller's property disclosure and wire fraud prevention. This other document here, the certification listing agreement, this just goes through and this confirms that everyone signed, the signature they used, the time that they signed everything. So if there's ever a question on it, you have, hey, you actually did sign this on June 12th at 11:06 a.m. Perfect, so now we have our signed documents. There's the next step here, so like for a listing, is gonna be to upload these documents in Command. Since we linked our command to this room, it's very simple. To do that, I'm gonna come back into Command. I'm just gonna click refresh just to make sure everything's working okay since we had that little hiccup when we got started. All right, so now I wanna start adding the documents. So for the listing agreement, I'll click on Add a File. I'll select DocuSign from the source of documents. And then it's going to load and show all of the documents that I have in DocuSign. Now, because I created folders, there's a folder here which I can select listing agreement folder, and that'll help just minimize the number of documents that I have. Now, I want to point out here that it does show every single document. So you can see here it shows exclusive seller listing agreement, and then also shows exclusive seller listing agreement signed. So just make sure that you select the signed version. So I'll select signed version and then click assign. And now that listing agreement is automatically added to my opportunity in Command. So this is the main benefit of connecting Command and DocuSign. So now you don't have to download the document and then upload it. It can all sit right here. So since we have a handful of documents we want to upload, I don't want to go through these one by one. So what I'm going to do is I'll click on attach multiple files. And then we'll just kind of scroll through here. Oh, sorry, at the top, select DocuSign as the source. And we'll do the same thing where it'll show all of our documents. So I'll community association disclosure. So I'll just scroll down here. Community Association Disclosure signed. So it's kind of long, but this is the signed version. Then I'll do the same thing for seller's property disclosure. Seller's property disclosure exhibit signed. Rawls Group affiliated marketing. And then Rawls Group wire fraud. Perfect. And then I click attach. And now it's going to add all of those documents to my opportunity. And that's how simple it is. So once you've added for a listing, once you've added all your listing documents, you would click submit to MC right here. And this will send these documents to Lynn and Alita for review. Once they have reviewed them, you'll get a little red notice up here in the bell that'll let you know that your compliance documents have been reviewed. Compliance event has been approved. Perfect. And if there's any notes, it'll say right by each document, missing this field, please update this, need seller's initials here. Lynn and Alita will put those notes there so you know exactly what to fix. Now, there are a few things that I want to show you in DocuSign that'll help kind of the everyday processes that you do. So I'm going to click back into DocuSign. Let's see, we got a question, so let me check this. Do clients have to sign each field before they can fill out fields? No, they can sign, so seller one, since Tony was the one responsible for the seller's property disclosure and community association disclosure, he has to fill in that information and sign all the required fields before Pepper will receive an email from DocuSign with her chance to sign. But all of those fields don't have to necessarily be filled in for him to sign all the required fields. Does that answer your question? All right, so what if he fills in wrong and Pepper needs to correct? So if he fills something in wrong, Pepper cannot correct it. What you would do is you would void that envelope and then resend all those documents out for signature again, and then he would have to put in the correct information. All right, so I want to show you how to do a few things here in DocuSign that were pretty easy to do in .loop. So let's say you have all these forms that you have with your listing agreement and you want to send them to your seller all as one PDF. So we want to combine these documents. To do that, just select the documents you want to do. So roll your mouse over the document, click on the circle in the left-hand corner. So we'll do the affiliated marketing, community association, listing agreement, and I'm selecting only the signed versions. The seller's property disclosure. Oh, did not mean to open that. Wire fraud prevention. Perfect. So those are all the documents that I want to combine. So anytime you select one of the documents, this toolbar appears at the top. And so you can roll your mouse over any of the icons and see what it is. And then you can get to the one that says combine. So click on combine. And now I can give a name to this document. So 4321 Main Street Northeast signed listing agreement documents. Perfect. Now I want to reorder these because I want to make sure it's in the relevant order, and I want the listed agreement first, then my seller's property disclosure. So to do that, just roll your mouse to the document you want, click on it, and then drag it to the position you want it in. So I want seller's property disclosure, then community association, then affiliated marketing, and then wire fraud. Perfect. Now I just click save. DocuSign will reload. And then down here in the room docs, because everything defaults into the room docs, you'll see we have that new document, 4321 Main Street Northeast signed listing document. So I'm just going to move that up here. So now it's right here, and I can open it up. I now have a 20-page document, and this includes all the signed documents that my seller would need. All right, you just scroll through here, blah, blah, blah. So you can see, perfect, good to go. Now, when you're in a document, there are a handful of options that you have. So up here in the right corner, there's this this button said Document Actions. It looks like a little piece of paper with the corner dog-eared. You can click on that. It gives you the option, you can rename this document if you want to. You can split it up, you can move it, copy it, you can email it, and you can download it. And you can send it to an envelope to DocuSign. Now, if you want to email these documents directly from DocuSign, that's fine. I do want to point out that the email that will be received will say, please view documents, click the button. So whoever you send it to will have to click the button, then a web browser will open, and then they'll have to download from that web browser. When you email documents, it doesn't automatically attach them as PDFs like .loop does. So when sending things to a co-op agent, I would recommend that you download all of your documents. Just click download, and it will download. Download those documents to your computer, and then send them as an email to the co-op agent. Just simplifies the process. Another thing that you can do, let's say, I'm going to just close out of this for a second. So let's say you are the listing agent and you receive a contract from, or an offer from a buyer's agent, and that buyer's agent combined everything into a single document. Well, you need to split that document up before you are able to upload it into Command. So the way you would do that is you would come over here. I'm just going to use this document as an example since it's a multi-document PDF. Click on the document to open it up. And then come up here to the Document Actions tab or button. And then I'm going to click on Split. And now what this is going to do is on the right-hand side, it's going to show me quick little thumbnails of each one of the pages within the documents. So I can kind of roll over and see, okay, this first page is an exclusive listing agreement. Page 9 is seller's property disclosure. So then on the left-hand side, I can split those documents up into pages. So I can select pages 1 through 8 and I highlight them so I know exactly which pages I'm including. And I can name this signed exclusive listing agreement and give it today's date. Now I want to add another document, so I click on the Add Document. So I'll scroll through here. I just want to double check. All right, perfect. So pages 9 through 15. Again, it highlights them. And I'll name this signed seller's property disclosure 6. Oh, today's the 12th, duh. 6/12/20. Let me fix this. All right, now I want to add another document. So let's scroll down here. So we'll do page 16 through 18. Oh, 16. And this will be signed Community Association Disclosure 6/12/20. And then we'll do Add Document. We'll do page 19. Signed Affiliated Marketing Disclosure, and signed page 20. We'll do signed Wire Fraud Prevention Document. I need to give this a date. Let me give this one a date so I'm consistent. Perfect. So now, when you're done and you've just how you split up all the documents that you want to split up, just come up here to the top right-hand corner and click Save. The characters found in the date. Ah, man, I guess you can't add dates here. Let me just delete these really quickly. Sorry about that. I always like to have dates in the document titles. It's just a personal preference, but I guess DocuSign doesn't want me to do that. So then I'll just click Save. Perfect. The page will reload. And then I'll scroll down to the Room Documents folder, and because that's where everything defaults to the Room Documents. And now you can see where I have this PDF of the signed CAD, signed exclusive listing agreement, signed sales property disclosure, signed wire fraud prevention, signed affiliated marketing. So you can see I have all those documents that I just split are now in that Room document. So when I receive that document from that buyer's agent, I can easily separate it here by myself. Another thing I want to quickly show you is updating your time zone, which seems like kind of a silly thing to do, but for whatever reason, DocuSign defaults to Central, or for some agents to Pacific time zone, and that affects the time stamp for the date sign. So I want to quickly show you how to double check and make sure that everything is set for the Eastern Standard Time Zone. So in the top right-hand corner, click on your image or your initials, and then select Preferences. And then it'll default to our profile, and then just come down here to Time Zone and select Eastern Time Zone and click Save Changes. Perfect. Halfway there. Now there's another step I want to show you. Again, up in the top right-hand corner, click on your image or your initials and click Manage Profile. And this will open up another tab. And this is going to kind of take us into the e-signature side of DocuSign, which is fine. But we do need to make a quick update here as well. So we'll just give this a second to load. Well, I hope it loads. Let's try refresh. Perfect. Oh, okay. All right, so it loaded. Now, in our Manage Profile page, we want to click over here on Language and Region. And then you'll want to select Region. And this is going to update our regional settings. So we'll come down here to select the default time zone for all areas of your account. So come here and select Eastern Time. And then I recommend that you uncheck Use My Computer's Time Zone when I send documents. The reason I recommend you uncheck that is just since we operate in Atlanta, everything's Eastern Standard Time. Let's say you are on vacation and you're in Destin, and I think Destin is in Central Time Zone. Well, you don't want the documents that you're sending while you're on vacation to your clients to now all of a sudden have a Central Time Zone timestamp. You still want that Eastern time. So that's why I recommend uncheck the Use My Computer Time Zone. And then just click Save. And then you've now updated your timestamp. Now I'm going to log out of here really quickly because there are two ways that you can get to DocuSign. The first is from within Command, within your opportunities, you can click on Documents and then click Go to Transaction, and that will automatically take you to your room. But let's say you've already created your room, you started everything from Command, now you just want to go straight to DocuSign because you need to just quickly send a document. Well, you can do that. You can log in from DocuSign.com. And I will show you how to do that. All right, let me come up here. DocuSign. Perfect. So go to DocuSign.com. And then up here in the top right-hand corner, click on Login. It'll be the same login information. And log in. Now you'll notice that when you do log in from DocuSign.com, it looks a little bit different when the page loads. So when you log in directly from DocuSign.com, it logs you into the e-signature side of the platform, and we operate in the room side of the platform, which is fine. We can get there. There are two ways to get to the room side from e-signature. The first is you can click on the Get Started button right here. See, it says DocuSign Rooms for Real Estate. You can click Get Started. And then a drop down will appear from the top right-hand corner. You can click Switch to Rooms. Or you can eliminate this step and then just come up to your image or your initials and then click on the Switch to Rooms button. And that will take us over to the room side. And then you'll see here's your dashboard. If you get this authorized button, it's fine because you've already authorized your account. And then I can just click on 4321 Main Street. And this is the room that I just created this morning that we walked through. And then here's all of the documents, all my signed documents, everything here. And then one last thing I want to show you very, very quickly. In .loop, they had the capability that you could email a document from your email and directly into your loop. It saves a lot of time, especially if you're moving a lot of documents or you've just received a bound offer or a bound contract and you don't feel like having to upload everything. You have that same capability here in DocuSign. So there's two places of information that you need. First, if you click on your image or your initials, come to Preferences, and then come down to Inbox Details. And then here, you'll have your inbound email address. So it'll default to give you an inbound email address. If you want to change it, you can. But this is your email. So mine is nicholascore@mail.docusign.net. So just keep that in mind. So now I'm going to come back to my room. So I'll come over to my dashboard, click on my room, and I can also click on messages real fast. I guess before, or sorry, inbox. You can click on inbox up here, and this will give you your email address as well. So you could just copy this. So I'm just going to click copy on that. But let me go back to my room real fast because and I know we're right at 11:30, so I'll speed this up so I can answer your questions. So I'm going to come back to my room. Now, the important piece of information that you need from your room is your ID number. So when I come to back into my email account, I'll come over here, I'll click compose. I'm going to send this email to myself. Then I'm going to come over to my room and I'm going to get this ID number up here in the top left-hand corner of the info panel, and I'm going to copy it. You need to include the pound symbol as well, and that becomes my subject. And that's how DocuSign knows exactly which room to place this document in. And now I can come over here, click attach files. Let me just do archive. I'll just add this inspection. Perfect. Okay. So I'm going to attach this inspection. And now I'm going to click send. I'll probably just give it a minute. Come back over to my DocuSign room. Am I in the wrong? I hope I didn't select the wrong room. Whatever. So it may take a minute for it to load, but that's how you email documents directly into your room. All right. Anyway, while that loads, we've kind of come to our end of our time. I know I'm 2 minutes over, but I do want to give you guys the opportunity to ask any questions that you have. I'm happy to stick around for a few minutes. So what questions do you need? What can I clarify? What can I show you again before we finish this morning? Anything? All right. Well, if there are no questions, I'll let you guys go. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. I really appreciate it. As you start to work in DocuSign, let me know what questions you have. Let me know what issues you run into, problems. Send me an email, text message, call me. Anytime that you have an issue, let me know, because then 9 times out of 10, if you're having it, another agent will have it as well. And that way it lets me know what I need to troubleshoot, and I can work with Hutch as well as Michael New to get any issues resolved. So thank you very much. Have a great rest of your day. Please join the 12 o'clock conversation, equality conversation we're having this afternoon. So I will talk to you all later. Thank you.